Elliot has emerged from behind the camera.
Hello.
The elusive videographer appears, and for a very good reason, because he has a 5th gen Subaru Forester.
Sure.
This is the 6th gen Subaru Forester. So we're gonna leverage that experience.
Yeah, like Natalie said, I have a 2021 Forester. I put a ton of miles on it, but I'm incredibly excited to see what this 2025 is all about.
That's right, we are out here in Montana on a Subaru Drive program, so this is our first time seeing this in person, first time driving it. We're gonna bring you those first impressions, but informed by a current Forester owner's experience.
Yeah, a little bit. Natalie is still gonna be your point of contact. She's gonna be your expert reviewer. I'm just gonna pop in here and there. Hopefully that's okay with you. I'm excited to get going.
We're gonna keep this conversation going. It's gonna be great. Lots of great information for you today.
Absolutely,
So.
I gotta go get behind the camera.
Yes, because I can't do that part. So
all right,
he's
I'll
gonna
see
be
you
doing
later.
both, and I'm gonna stay in my lane, stick to what I know how to do. Never a dull day here in the CarGurus YouTube channel, so please make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything. You will have noticed that this is a little bit dirty. It is dusty out here, and we are obviously not on the road right now, so apologies. But we are gonna talk about exterior, as we always do. That is one of the really big changes here. Now, the Forester has never been known for its looks, really. That's just not really the point of it. And I have to wonder if that's a little bit of what's behind these sort of negative murmurings around this new styling, because it doesn't look that Forester-y to me. It doesn't feel like it's quite maintained the Forester DNA. They've tried to make it sleeker, and it's moving away, I think, from what a Forester usually is. It doesn't even really say Subaru that much to me. It'll be interesting to see if this heralds a new design direction, but for now, to me, not super Subaru-y. So some things that are different, steering responsive LED headlights are standard, and they do give it quite a different look, you know, from this front end, the way they're kind of integrated into the rest of the grille. They're calling this a shield effect, which I can see. We've got an updated Subaru star cluster emblem here where the stars are kind of connected. So it's a subtle difference, but it is a difference. That's new. This is the Sport trim. So this is another really new thing, because you used to be able to tell the Forester Sport by the red accents. No red here. Now it's this bronze color, which is a little more mature. I actually really like it. We did get this dirty, so it's kind of hard to tell, but this part is a good example. That's bronze. The Sport trim has 19-inch wheels, which are also bronze, believe it or not. Maybe we can get you some B-roll of that to prove it. Roof rails are standard. It's got 8.7 inches of ground clearance standard compared to 9.2 for the Wilderness. And an interesting thing, Forester Wilderness is a carryover model, so that's still the 2024 being sold alongside the 2025 for all the other trims. That doesn't have the revised looks yet, but presumably it will soon. The shape of the window surrounds here, that's quite different, and it's more sort of decisive looking to me. It doesn't kink up at the back so much anymore. And these lines, there's one here, there's one on the front too. That's new and different. It kind of makes the roof look like it's a whole separate part. So not totally sure why. Kind of looks like cat eye eyeliner to me, but it's different and it makes it stand out as a new generation. This painted part is just about the same angle as it was in the old Forester, but we can see that the rear glass is steeper, and that gives us a little bit more cargo space. Now, the 25 Forester also happens to be the first ever Subaru to get a foot-activated power liftgate. Since we don't have that on the Sport trim, I'm just gonna use my hands. So in here, we can see we've got 29.6 cubic feet of cargo space with the rear seats in place, 74.4 with them folded down. There are 8 heavy-duty hooks placed throughout this area for cargo management. That's standard. So we've seen about the space for your stuff. Let's check out the space for you and your passengers. This looks pretty familiar, particularly this sort of screen and vent array. We've seen that basically across Subaru's lineup, so very familiar stuff. The dash has some textured elements in it, which I was a little skeptical of when I saw photos, but in person, I think that they're really pulling it off. What do you think, Elliot?
I think it looks really nice. I like it.
Yeah, it looks nice. It doesn't look cheesy or cheap like I was a little afraid that it might. We can also see we've got the brown contrast stitching and another bronze element. Now you can see that I wasn't lying about the bronze, right? That's mimicked over here with this strip of fabric, which I like more than I thought I would. It kind of reminds me of like a backpack material or a sleeping bag. It speaks to Subaru's sort of outdoorsy character, and I do think that's going to hold up well, so that's nice. We do still have hard controls for volume, tuning, temperature up, down, and your defoggers. So they've got the basics covered there. More advanced climate control functions live in the screen, but at least they're anchored at the bottom. So that's something you always know where they are. An interesting thing about the dual zone climate control, it's been updated so it now focuses only on occupied seats. It's kind of cool, and it is, of course, a fuel economy measure. Speaking of hard controls, I always really appreciate an actual gear shifter, so I like that they've kept that and haven't gone to a push-button transmission. Other things in this area, the cup holders are staggered. That's different, right?
Yeah, the ones in mine are side by side, right in the back. Other things that are different in that region, mine has a big X mode wheel right in the middle. Yeah. It's like a prominent feature. Now that X mode button, I think, is in the touchscreen.
Yes, that's right.
And also the seat warmers. They're nice rocker tactile switches, whereas again, now they're in the touchscreen.
Yeah, so with those rockers, you can have it on, get out of the car, turn it off, and know that it's still in that on position when you get back in, that's kind of an interesting thing. This is about the same, I think, yeah?
I think so. I don't know the official numbers, but it doesn't seem any bigger or smaller. It seems pretty much, it's not huge.
That's how far my hand goes in.
Yeah, it's manageable.
Manageable. You could hide a wallet in there for sure. Here's an update. The Sport trim now gets this star text material. We'd seen this on the Wilderness. I like this because it's a cost-effective way to still have wipe-off seats instead of the base cloth. More of this brown contrast stitching here. This driver's seat is 10-way power adjustable. I think that the passenger side becomes 8-way power adjustable starting on limited. And then there is a driver's seat memory function on the Touring trim. That also gets heated and ventilated front seats and heated rear seats, which is a really nice thing. So even though I don't have that on this trim, I'm going to pretend and I'm going to go check out the rear seats. I don't have headroom and legroom numbers right now, but I can tell you that there's 110.8 cubic feet of passenger volume. I can also tell you that I moved this front seat all the way back. So we can see I've still got legroom, partly because these front seats are so dramatically carved out to make space for my knees. I'm quite reclined back here, which does put my head further from the ceiling. We do have the panoramic moonroof, so that's standard on all but the base trim, and I can reach it from there, which is nice. They also mentioned this dark headliner. It's meant to be scuff resistant. I think that's very cool if you're loading things in and out, or you have a big dog climbing in. I also think a lot of headliners tend to be dark colors anyway, so that feels a little bit like taking credit for something that was true anyway, but you know what? I'll take it. This is gonna stay nice and clean. So let's find out how it drives. So first of all, still no turbo and still no hybrid, although a hybrid Forester is coming. We just don't quite know when yet. But for now, no turbo, no hybrid. You know, the RAV4 does have both a hybrid and a plug-in hybrid, priced accordingly, of course. CR-V has a hybrid, again, more expensive, but it's available. And Mazda almost always includes a turbo option in addition to, of course, non-turbo options. But for the Subaru Forester, it is still just one powertrain. It's a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder boxer engine. It makes 180 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. So slightly less power, slightly more torque than the outgoing Forester, but really minimal changes. It's got a Lineartronic CVT, and every trim except for the base one gets the paddles here on the steering wheel, with 8 different gear ratios, so you can sort of manage your own gears if you like. Of course, it has all-wheel drive. That's a Subaru hallmark and trademark because it's symmetrical all-wheel drive. It is a full-time all-wheel drive system, which is not true of every all-wheel drive system, even on all of the Forester's competitors. So a lot of manufacturers will prioritize fuel economy, and they really want to have that as a selling point. So those will be part-time all-wheel drive systems which bias towards front-wheel drive and just kick in all 4 wheels when they detect that it's necessary. Subaru has chosen to prioritize all-wheel drive full-time, that sense of sure-footedness and security that a lot of folks want from having all-wheel drive, that peace of mind. It does come a bit at the sacrifice of fuel economy, but it's really not a terrible story with the Forester. This new one is rated for 28 to 29 miles per gallon combined. The trim I'm driving right now, Sport, this is rated for 28. So that puts it roughly on par with the CR-V and the RAV4 when they're equipped with all-wheel drive. It makes it better than the Hyundai Tucson and the Mazda CX-5. the best out of the bunch of close competitors would be the Nissan Rogue. So those are the facts, and I've had enough time now behind the wheel that I know how I feel about it. I've got my impressions down. I'm not going to say yet, though, because we're going to put Elliot behind the wheel, and I don't want to color his opinion. Find out what a current Forester owner thinks of this new one. Okay, welcome to the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 Forester.
This is a new space for me.
How does it feel?
It feels a little nerve-wracking,
okay,
but exciting. And here we go. So I'm stepping on the gas. You can hear that.
I
you can
hear
that.
it. I really hear it.
Now we're hearing the engine. The acceleration feel, the get up and go has never been a hallmark of the Forester, and I still don't think it is. That's not the point of this car,
yeah.
And it doesn't feel like that is the point of the 2025 Forester either.
Did it, to you, because it's supposed to be quieter, did it sound similar to how yours does when you're getting up to speed like that?
So that engine, maybe I'm not normally stepping on the floor
yep.
as much at home in my everyday life. Mm-hmm. So that engine roar was a little louder than I'm used to. But now that we're at speed, I do think the sound deadening, the noise reduction is more, I guess I would say the engine is less noticeable now.
Yep.
Mine, you definitely feel the road noise. You definitely hear the engine. I'm still hearing road noise. I don't think that's going away, but I don't hear the engine at all.
Same. Agreed.
Granted, I'm not pushing it. I'm at 1,500 RPM, so I'm not really pushing the engine, but cruising speed, I'm going 65. I don't hear the engine.
So what do you think of the steering feel?
I don't mean to be a broken record, but it feels familiar.
Okay.
I think if you've driven a previous gen Forester, mm-hmm. I think you're going to feel pretty at home here.
Easy transition.
Yeah, it feels very... I think the biggest changes with this Forester is the tech, which I think we're going to talk about tech later, or you're going to talk about tech later. That's the biggest thing I notice in here, not the driving feel, not the steering feel. One thing that is new I don't have these paddles, and I think the paddles are standard on everything from the premium up.
Yep.
So that's new for this generation, because I have a premium without paddles. So they brought the paddles down a couple trim levels, maybe. I'm not sure when they started before. But I don't know, do you use paddles when you're driving a CVT?
I don't.
Is that something that you... Yeah, so I do
not typically.
I've never been like, oh, I wish I had paddles to shift my gears.
I wish I could make it pretend to hold that gear longer.
I have the paddles now, and I'm also not wishing I had paddles.
So it sounds like, in general, pretty familiar for a current Forester owner. Feels like this would be an easy transition if you were going to switch from your 5th gen into the 6th gen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my take.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sticking to it, but I'm tired of being in the driver's seat. This is very stressful. I promise this is not a comfortable place to be. I say...
You don't mean the Forester driver's
no,
seat is not comfortable?
Absolutely. Comfort-wise, I'm fine. Stress-wise, being in front of a camera, I'm over it. So let's get you back in the seat.
Right.
Let's switch seats again, and let's hear from the real expert. How about that?
Well, I can definitely tell you what I thought of driving it now that we've heard what you thought.
Perfect.
I do want to say that the accelerator feel is a little bit heavy. I had kind of forgotten that because I've been just basically cruising off-road at low speeds for the last hour or so, but now that I'm back out here, I definitely noticed that getting going from a stop, getting up to highway speeds quickly from a stop, it's a bit more effortful in my right foot than I might like or expect. So we've turned off the highway and we're now on a dirt, gravelly road. I do think it's a road, it's marked on the map, but it feels pretty off-roady. The noise is a really interesting thing here. I'm not hearing the engine at all, and that is not what I'm used to from a Boxer. They tend to be very noisy. This is actually quite an impressive improvement. You know, a lot of manufacturers say that they made the car quieter, and that's often not very obvious, but this to me feels really obvious. Of course I'm hearing the tires rumbling over the road, but it's not egregious, and I think that this is much quieter than it would be in your Subaru Forester, no offense.
Yeah, none taken.
Woo!
Okay, so you just made a really cool turn. We're doing a lot more twisties and turnies. How's the steering
We are doing a lot more twisties and turnies. The steering is really interesting. It's not loosey-goosey, but it does feel very fluid, almost like a lubricated sense when I'm turning the wheel. It's quite pleasant, actually. On road here, I'm concentrating a little bit more, but it's a really nice feeling. Not overboosted, just pleasantly tactile. Now that the terrain's getting a little bit rougher out here, I do have X mode activated, so that's got that hill descent control function built in, which really makes this pretty much foolproof. It would be hard to screw this up. So I don't even have my foot on the gas. We're maintaining 12 miles an hour here, making our way down the hill at a comfortable pace without having to do any work. Subaru's EyeSight suite of safety and driver assistance tech is standard, of course, but it's enhanced. So it's got an electric brake booster. It also has a third camera for a widened field of view that's mounted on the middle in the front of the vehicle. So that lets it detect pedestrians and cyclists earlier and activate automatic emergency braking if it detects that that's necessary. Of course, we've also got a lot of those popular driver assistance features like adaptive cruise control with lane centering. That's enhanced now. And there's a newly available, new to Subaru feature called emergency stop assist. So that's only active when adaptive cruise control is activated, but it will, of course, as adaptive cruise control systems do, prompt you occasionally to make sure your hands are on the wheel, make sure you're still paying attention, because this is not autonomous driving, right? If you're unresponsive, it will start to pulse the brakes to try to get your attention. If you're still unresponsive, it's going to know something's wrong with you. So it will bring the vehicle to a stop. It will notify emergency services. It will unlock the doors so they can get at you and help you, and it'll put your hazards on. So pretty cool little package of features, good for peace of mind. Also for peace of mind, rear seat reminder is of course standard, because after all, this is a family vehicle. A lot of people are going to have pets or small kids in the back, and you don't want to accidentally leave them in there, do you? So there are also some available safety features that are not standard safety and driver assistance features. So let's talk about those, what they are and how you can get them. Blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert is the big one, so you can get that on premium with the $1,200 package, which is also going to get you some comfort and convenience goodies. So that's a nice thing. That does come standard on the Limited, which also gets automatic emergency steering and lane change assist. This is the first time that we're getting this 11.6-inch touchscreen on the Forester. Still have the same old Subaru platform in here, same font, so that's all very familiar, but we've got the bigger screen, except on the base trim. That has the two 7-inch screens just inside this housing. This screen comes with standard wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Of course, they all get Sirius XM capability, Bluetooth, the ability to take over-the-air updates. That's all standard. In this sport trim, we have the 11-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. That's an option that came with a package, so not standard for sport. It can also be added as part of a package for the Limited trim. Touring naturally gets it. Touring gets everything, including a smart rear view mirror, which I have not gotten to try, but I actually don't really like digital rear view mirrors. I find them kind of hard to focus on, so I'm glad that we don't have that here. We've got a wireless charger. We've got USB-A and USB-C ports. I pointed the wrong one, but those are there for their data transmitting. We've got aux in, and then also USB-C and A charging only ports back here. So today was all about first impressions of this all-new Forester, plus a little bit of debate on exactly how all-new it is, and we would love to hear from you, your opinions about that. But we've basically focused on comparing it to the old one, and of course an important part of that conversation is always, how did the pricing change? So the 2024 Forester Wilderness we've still got for this year, that's only gone up by $200, which seems very fair since it is still a 2024. Otherwise though, it's increased by about $3,000. This now starts right around $30,000, goes up to right around $40,000 for that top trim, all before we take into account the $1,395 destination fee. Interesting point though, the premium trim has only increased by about $1,900. So maybe that's where your value really lies. It's got a lot of great stuff. Of course, just the one powertrain option because, as discussed, still no turbo and still no hybrid, but we do know that a hybrid Forester is coming.
And you also know that as soon as we can get our hands on it, we are going to give it a review.
Absolutely.
Can I say it?
Please, go ahead.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
You don't want to miss that. Great job, buddy.
Thanks.